The most vulnerable population to nutrient deficiencies. This is where you don't want to miss out on a single nutrient, not even for a minute. There are steps there that you may never get a chance to correct. It's really the young people, especially young women, who need to have better information about how these diets affect not only their health, but if they're planning to have children, the health of those children. So this is the most vulnerable population to nutrient deficiencies, are pregnant women and developing children. So this is where you don't want to miss out on a single nutrient, not even for a minute.
Yeah.
So during brain development, there are steps there that you may never get a chance to correct. So I think that one of the reasons I wrote this book, and there's a chapter in the book called The Plant-Based Brain, which explains exactly what happens if you don't have animal foods in the diet when the brain is developing, to try to help people understand how dangerous this is. And you don't hear that in mainstream messaging about plant-based diets. You never hear the ifs, ands, and buts about vegan diets. It's safe if, it's safe, but it's safe, and so this is a very, very slippery slope. I think people need to know what the risks are so that they can make informed choices.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad you said that, because you hear these things bouncing around. And I've seen some things, but like you say, they're epidemiology, and I just
Right.
and that's what I wanted to sort of see. Obviously, this is your field, so I always wanted to ask that of a psychiatrist who actually knew the study. So that's different, and I think that's very fair. We just don't have the experimental data to really say one way or the other. I mean, I certainly feel worse when I eat plants. My memory is clearly affected by that, but certainly not for everybody. It's so good that you point out. They don't talk about the if, ands, or buts. I was just talking to someone about this the other day, and they were saying that they had a horrible reaction to. It was actually a patient, a horrible reaction to these veggie chips, and they've been mostly carnivore, and they had this big reaction to that. So there's that sort of that thing again where you have this big reaction, but. She was really, really unwell. She did not feel good. She ended up having to leave this party, and she didn't know what was going on. She ended up looking up these veggie chips, and she found that there were these tapioca powder that was in, and there's a sort of a rash of these apparently with those veggie chips, and the tapioca powder apparently had a much higher level of cyanide in them that than they normally should have. And apparently they had something
Than they normally should have. I love that.
exactly. Yeah. So that was the thing.